Hey, this is Angel. In this video, I'm going to be discussing emotional triggers, strategies for dealing with them. Welcome back to Narc-repellant. This channel is devoted to those seeking understanding, strategies, and support as they are recovering from narcissistic or toxic abuse and trauma of any kind. If you're interested in gaining further perspective on these subjects, you've come to the right place. Our topic-related quote for the day comes from Teal Swan, an American spiritual teacher and blogger. She states, "The people who trigger us to feel negative emotions are messengers. They are messengers for the unhealed parts of our being." This reminds me of the narcissistic relationship I had, where he so adeptly mirrored for me all the emotional wounds from my childhood. I'd easily forgotten about those. So it is true. Although it's difficult to appreciate, we learn the most during those times when toxic people, these messengers, come into our lives. Okay, my new community of friends, let's dive into today's topic. What are emotional triggers? According to Dr. Judith Orloff out of my state, California, she wrote this great book, The Empath's Survival Guide, Life Strategies for Sensitive People. In this book, she states that emotional triggers are those super-reactive places inside you that become activated by someone else's behaviors or comments. When triggered, you may either withdraw emotionally and simply feel hurt or angry, or respond in an aggressive way that you'll probably regret later. Your reaction is so intense because you're defending against a painful feeling that has surfaced. I think we've all been there. Having an emotional reaction like this could simply be your body trying to tell you that you have a wound that needs to be healed in order to cope with what is triggering you. The trigger is the wound telling you it's there. I also refer to these as landmines. Most of us have insecurities and fears and early traumatic events that have shaped our adulthood. We have that voice in our head that ruminates on what we've done wrong or plays a recording of some message we received in childhood. Sometimes the beliefs around those messages are faulty. We will need to learn a number of strategies in order to alleviate the strong emotional reaction to having someone step on those landmines. These intense reactions don't really serve us well now that we're adults. What would be better is if we were able to learn what our triggers are and how to heal from the wounds that caused them. In this video, I hope to do just that. So if you're interested, please hang around. I'd like now to take a moment to invite you to subscribe to my channel, share, like, and comment. As you know, YouTubers need and appreciate that level of support to survive. I want to acknowledge those who have been loyally watching my videos, and I have a few new subscribers. Thank you so much. I'm hoping you'll add comments today about your experiences with emotional triggers. Your submitted comments will go through me first, though. I want to watch for predators and other sales comments. I want to hear about your experience in getting past these emotional reactions. Okay, now back to our topic, emotional triggers. Being sensitive to emotional triggers is exhausting. It's as if the flight or fight or freeze response switch is always on, waiting for the next traumatic event. Being on edge like this becomes painful and incredibly stressful, especially if you are a highly sensitive person or an empath. More on that in another video. If you've been in a relationship with a narcissist or other toxic individual, they have a way of mirroring back to you those inner wounds that have been burdening you since childhood. This was a good place for me to start healing. Maybe the same will be for you too, my friends. Although I hated that the narcissist forced me to see the painful messages from my childhood, I'm grateful that I've been able to resolve and heal from some of this. Here are some of the first strategies that you can use to begin healing from emotional triggers or landmines. Number 1, stay conscious to your reactions. You will need to begin recognizing when these triggers or landmines are activated in you. What is being said? What is happening around you or to you? You want to keep a record or a journal of when reactions happen and what transpired just before. There may be a pattern that you find which could be very helpful. Maybe someone at work is very critical of your presentation, which throws you completely off balance. Maybe this reminds you of a failure in school. It gives you a strong emotional reaction. If your boyfriend indicates that your jeans are getting a little tight and you feel yourself seething, well, maybe you have issues revolving around your body image. That could be due to having a mother who always commented on your weight. It's going to be important to keep track of all these things that are creating the strongest reaction in you so that you can work on understanding and healing from them. Number 2, you will need to study and get support for your emotional health. You need to understand your emotional triggers. These triggers may have been initiated long ago. You'll need to track these feelings back to where the core of the pain was created. But more importantly, it's incredibly important to find a trained professional to assist your healing from these emotional triggers. This is not work that's easily possible on your own. There are many therapeutic avenues for support. Here are some things that you might want to bring up in a therapeutic situation. Working on identifying those areas that cause an emotional reaction within you. Begin to trace in your mind where these feelings may have originated. This is actually not that hard to do. The first time I heard a therapist discussing this process, I didn't know how I was going to get back into my mind to trace all this emotional damage. If you think about the current messages you hear in your mind, consider when you may have heard the same thing as a child. You may need to meditate on this. Doing this work may bring up great sadness or even anger for what you may not have remembered or are just now figuring out about your childhood. After all, parents are supposed to love us and bring us up to be healthy, mature adults. Unfortunately, that doesn't always happen so smoothly for everyone. You will need to dig into these messages in order to feel what you need to feel, in order to move through the feelings that created that emotional trigger. It's truly amazing what happens when you become more educated about yourself by doing this inner work. You'll feel the true power of your healed self when you do. Number 3, you'll need to begin reprogramming for new messages. Obviously, emotional triggers were created from false beliefs or messages we received primarily in childhood. Usually these messages came with negative connotation, causing further trauma. If you've been programmed with these messages since early childhood, they've been that heavy baggage you've been carrying around. As you are working through number 2, you will need to begin changing those messages into something that will be more positive. It's your turn to reparent yourself, and this is one way that will truly help you. As an example, if you were criticized as a young person about your weight, oh, okay, I know that's come up twice. I guess this is my issue. Well, chances are you have a negative body image that could have been caused by negative messages you received. You'll need to reprogram these messages with a new one like, I love my curvy thighs. I know this sounds somewhat silly, but honestly, it does work. If you were criticized for not doing a decent job with homework, you could have negative messages about your work ethic as an adult. You'll need to work on reprogramming a new message like, I'm an honest and ethical worker and deserve a good position at any company. There's real power in this step. This all takes time, but you're getting stronger already. Number 4, you'll need to practice what you learn even before you're really all the way there. Here you are. You found this video and probably others about emotional triggers. You're gaining strategies and support for what you're going through. You're beginning to get a perspective on these triggers and the emotional wounds which created them. This is truly powerful. It will take time to integrate what you're learning along with your own reparenting, but you're on your way. Of course, this doesn't happen overnight, but you can certainly start by acting as if you have integrated your new positive messages and beliefs into your daily life. Number 5, you will need to stay conscious and aware of your emotional reactions. Stay conscious of all that you are learning about yourself, your triggers, and your emotional reactions. Continue to journal and take notes about new messages and how your emotional reactions are calming down. This is going to take time, but it's worth it. You will need to continually check yourself for possibly other hidden wounds that may flare up in the form of a new landmine when you are least expecting it. Be open to whatever comes up for you in this area. The more work you do, the sooner you'll begin to master your emotional responses. That's about it for today on emotional triggers. But if you're suffering with unregulated emotional triggers, please know there are many avenues for support. You're definitely not alone in your struggle for understanding and more power over the negative messages you've been receiving. Please don't stay isolated during this time. Get good help. It takes time to heal from these wounds. Give yourself lots of time. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today, and have a graceful day.